You're welcome. I'm Charles Aite. To our first story, Ghana's deregulation policy on the pricing of petroleum products seems to be on the balance. At least this is the argument by some experts who make the case that the current directive by government to the country's leading oil marketing company GOIL to reduce fuel prices by 15 pesos per litre to meet demands by commercial drivers who embarked on a sit-down strike recently raises questions about whether or not the deregulation policy has outlived its relevance. Well, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana is a petroleum expert and he joins us via Zoom. We're grateful, Dr. you could join us. First of all, does this directive actually question the efficacy of the deregulation policy?
Yeah, thank you very much, Charles, and good afternoon to you and good afternoon to your cherished viewers in Ghana and across the globe. I hope you can hear me clear, Charles.
You're loud and clear.
Make sure that okay, thank you. Yeah, so yes, it does. It does call, to the fact that, deregulation is on a shaky ground, and it's on a shaky ground because, it's almost the fact that we are seeing that, the policy is not able to stamp its authority when the market needs it most. And this is the time that we thought, deregulation should be able to work in both directions, that one price are going up and one price are coming down. Now, why are we here, Charles? We need to know why, we are struggling the way we are struggling at this moment. After the implementation of deregulation in 2015, it actually chalked a lot of successes. 3 players are involved in deregulation, and they benefited a lot. We have the consumer, the PSP, that is petroleum service provider, and then the government of Ghana. These key 3 players all benefited. How did the consumer benefit? Consumer benefited in the sense that there was a lot of competition and actual prices came down. If you look at from 2015, 12 months down the line, actual prices came down. PSPs were also allowed to do full cost recovery, and then the government of Ghana didn't put in any subsidies. So looking at deregulation as a whole, as a policy and its intended purposes, I think it was achieved well. But what happened just after this windfall, especially after 2014, 15, and 2016? Actually, the world price actually collapsed. Collapsed. And so what we're expecting is that there would have been some cascading impact at the pumps, but that never happened. After the benefits that the consumer benefited within those periods, taxes quickly came to play. The government of Ghana actually came out with so many taxes at that time. And one of the lead taxes that you can remember then was special petroleum tax.
Exactly.
That's SPT. This was supposed to actually be temporary, just to cool down the market because the downstream side were being impacted. So the expectation was that they wanted to use the downstream to support the upstream, and so that the upstream side were being impacted because of low oil prices. And so, but that has come to stay. So, Charles, we are struggling because deregulation is paralyzed. And it is paralyzed because of taxes. So until we review the tax regime, all right, we are not going to be able to see the impact or the benefits of deregulation. But the policy as itself and its intended purpose, I think it's well intended and it is good. And I think it is high time. The good thing is that I'm told MPA set up a committee, to sit on this particular policy and review it. And I think that is an excellent way to go, and I commend them for that. We need to do that. And whatever findings are, we need to look at these loopholes and we will to plug them.
Great.
Other than that,
I'm quite curious to find out, Dr. Sulemana. Others might ask that if government could have given this directive, why not in instances when fuel prices were reduced on the global market?
Yes, so that's the the question that most pundits will ask, and that's actually the major problem because the assumption is that deregulation works in one direction, Charles. That's the assumption, though it's not supposed to be so. And why are we saying that? If you look back, the last market collapse that we have in the world market, somewhere in March 2020, actual crude oil prices in the global market actually crashed to, with Brent was at, let's say, a little bit below 20. That is where our pumps are benchmarked. And even WTI went to negative 37 as at that time. That was phenomenal and that was monumental. But I think we didn't see that kind of cascading impact at the pumps. If you remember that time, we never saw pump prices dropping below 4 cedis 4 cedis per liter.
Exactly.
That is so for you. So that is what is supposed to be done. The reason why pundits are calling or are saying that, I mean, government has to take interest in both directions. When the oil prices are going up, government has to take interest. And when oil prices are also coming down, government has to take key interest in that. Other than that, consumer will never benefit in the deregulation policy.
Well,
because if the government can take interest in when oil prices are going up at this moment, pundits will ask that why shouldn't government take interest when oil prices are also coming down? And I said that's a legitimate question to ask.
Great, indeed.
That is very legitimate.
Indeed,
to ask,
but
yeah.
let's contextualize this discussion, because we know that this is playing out in the wake of petrol experts concerned about the 2022 budget being less expressive on the petroleum sector. What did the government miss exactly in the budget regarding the upstream and downstream industry?
Yeah, so Charles, I think this is a very good one. If you look at the budget with respect to the energy sector, with respect to the petroleum sector, I think a lot was said about the upstream, which was phenomenal and commendable. They were told about how GMPC is going to be resourced to become a standalone operator. Commendable. I always call that the petroleum sector is not only about upstream, it is about upstream and downstream. And if you leave one sector unattended, it's going to drill the other sector. And that's what is happening. The upstream is drilling the downstream sector at this moment. All right? Upstream is becoming robust. Oil prices are going high. We can benefit that side. But the downstream is struggling. Okay. So what I saw that was very unfortunate, I don't know whether it was an omission. As much as so much was said about the upstream, which I said it was commendable, the budget was almost mute about the downstream. And that was very unfortunate. Especially the budget was read at a time when the downstream needed some kind of reassurances, where the government need to show the leadway. The government need to give the consumer or stakeholders within the sector, within the downstream sector, that these are the cogent measures that I want to put in place to cool down the market. Because the budget was read at a time when the market was very hot. All right, when oil prices were very high, and then the pump price were actually very high. So my expectation was that, my candid expectation was that I thought something was going to be said about the downstream. That was very crucial. So the listing should have been that, the government should have put out some kind of cogent measures and some reassurances that this is what I'm going to do to cool down the pumps, because the pumps were simply, too hot for consumers to pay. But that was not seen. And I believe strongly that if that wasn't missed, some of this agitation that we are seeing now, we wouldn't see that, because this agitation is triumph under the atmosphere of, lack of information, or lack of assurances. Because if at the end of the day, the budget did not cater for how this market is going to be cooled, and we leave it to the international market to determine or to dictate the pace, I think that was quite unfortunate. And indeed, I think it was an omission. So my expectation is that government should take it seriously and take up that seriously. And maybe within the mid-year budget, they have to do something. Or even before that, they have to do something. If it's about the taxes, yes, they have to let consumers know or stakeholders know what cogent measures are put in place to cool down the market. Otherwise, these agitations will continue.
And of course, we do know that the finance minister yesterday, addressed the media regarding some, exceptions of tax review in the 2022 budget. We shall be following up on this, especially when Parliament has resumed sitting. And of course, discussions of this nature would suffice. But we're grateful that you could join us with your submission, Dr. Yusuf Sulemana, petroleum expert on the deregulation policy, where it stands, especially when government has directed GOIL, Ghana's leading oil marketing company, to slash its petrol prices by 15 pesos.